So what happens when a piece of maritime history has a really unexpected run-in with a modern landmark?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we're digging into today.
Yeah.
This, well, quite dramatic incident with the ARM Cuauhtémoc.
The Mexican naval training ship.
Exactly. Colliding with the Brooklyn Bridge, of all things. We're working mainly off the initial NBC News report here.
Right.
And the plan is basically to piece together what happened that Saturday night, figure out the key details from this pretty surprising story.
It is quite striking, isn't it? I mean,
Wow.
a collision like that, big ship, fixed bridge, major city, you just don't expect it.
No, you really don't.
So our job is to kind of look past the initial shock, see what factors were actually at play.
Okay.
The scene, as you said, Saturday night, New York City. Cuauhtémoc had just pushed off from Pier 17.
Right.
You can sort of picture it, this majestic sailing ship starting its journey out, a real sight.
And the collision itself happened, what, around 8:20 p.m. Eastern time?
That's the time reported, yes.
So just think about that for a second. This historic ship,
Yeah.
277 people on board, heading out, and then bam, this sudden, hard impact with the bridge. The reports from right after, they paint a really concerning picture. We know, tragically, 2 people died.
Yeah, that's the awful part.
And quite a few injuries. Started at 19, I think, then updated to 21.
That's right, 21. And 2 were initially critical, which tells you something about the severity.
Definitely.
And the human cost is it's significant. The fact that crew members up on a mast were injured, that really shows how vulnerable people were.
Absolutely, being up high like that during an impact.
And seeing paramedics taking people away on stretchers, some with neck braces, I mean, it suggests some pretty serious forces were involved.
Yeah.
And they had divers checking the water, too, just as a precaution, which, shows how seriously they took the initial assessment.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the cause. What do we know so far? Preliminary info seems to point towards a mechanical malfunction.
Right, that's the initial word.
Mayor Eric Adams was quoted. He said, the pilot lost power of the ship.
Lost power.
Yeah, which suggests, some kind of sudden critical failure. It couldn't maneuver, veered into the bridge. It's almost hard to picture that sequence.
It really is. I mean, a sudden loss of propulsion, especially right there in New York Harbor, that's a huge problem for controlling a ship that size.
You have very little time to react.
Exactly. And the visual evidence, wow. It really drives home the force of it all. Reports say the ship's 3 masts just snapped.
Snapped, yeah. And there's video apparently showing 2 lit-up masts hitting the bridge and people actually clinging to them.
Oh, wow. That's terrifying.
And another video showed maybe 80 people standing across the masts just before, seemingly secured, but still up there.
That raises some questions, doesn't it, about sort of standard procedures for where personnel should be during departure in confined waters.
It does. Now, this ship, the ARM Cuauhtémoc, it's not just any old ship, right? It has a real history.
Very much so.
The Mexican ambassador to the U.S. confirmed it's a historic Mexican Navy training vessel. He called it a sailing ambassador for Mexico.
That's a great description.
It was built back in 1981 in Spain, actually. Originally called Celaya.
Ah, okay.
Then the Mexican Navy got it for training, sailed globally for 13 years, then had a big refit in 1995.
A major refit, right?
And it had just been docked at the Seaport Museum, Pier 17. People could actually go aboard and see it right up until Saturday. Then it set off, heading for Iceland, apparently.
That history really adds context, doesn't it? It's a ship with decades of service, a major refit, suggests it wasn't neglected.
Right, which makes the reported mechanical failure, well, more intriguing, I guess.
Exactly. What kind of systems failure leads to a sudden loss of power on a vessel like that? It likely has auxiliary power, too, so.
Yeah, lots of questions there. And then there's the bridge itself, the Brooklyn Bridge, an icon.
Thankfully, the first assessment from the NYC Department of Transportation Commissioner sounded relatively okay. No major structural damage found initially.
Which is amazing, considering. And it stayed open to traffic.
But they did suspend commercial traffic right there.
Yes, immediately.
And the Coast Guard set up a safety zone from the Brooklyn Bridge to the Manhattan Bridge, which tells you they weren't taking any chances.
Absolutely. Need those thorough checks.
The fact the bridge held up so well against the masts, I mean, it speaks volumes about its construction, really.
Definitely built to last.
But yeah, those immediate safety measures show you can't assume anything. You've got to check for hidden damage, instability, that kind of thing.
So, as you'd expect, investigations are underway. The NYPD is looking into it.
Makes sense.
And crucially, the National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, They're going to probe the cause too.
Ah, the NTSB, that's key. They have the technical expertise.
Right. They'll dig into the mechanical side, what the pilot did, maintenance records, procedures, everything.
Their findings will be vital to understand exactly why it lost power and if, there were bigger issues at play.
And the police were telling people to avoid the area right after it happened, naturally.
Standard procedure, keep the area clear for responders and investigators.
It's also interesting, the ship came up in connection with Sailforth 250. The big celebration for America's 250th in 2026.
Oh, right. I saw that mentioned.
But apparently, a spokesperson clarified that the Cuauhtémoc wasn't actually, officially signed up to participate yet.
Ah, okay. So maybe a potential participant, but not confirmed. Still, it shows the ship's profile, its role on the international stage.
Definitely. And that role makes the contrast even sharper.
Yeah.
You hear about witness accounts mentioning a party-like atmosphere on board before it happened. Music playing.
Yeah.
And then after the crash, onlookers on shore chanting, Mexico, Mexico.
Wow. That's quite a scene. Celebration suddenly turning into disaster very publicly. It's poignant, really.
It really is. And that description from Sail Training International, the UK nonprofit, just reinforces the ship's background, built 81, major refit in 95.
Right. Not some relic falling apart. That 95 refit would likely have involved major system overhauls.
So it just deepens the mystery around this mechanical failure, doesn't it? Was it something sudden, totally unforeseen? Or related to maintenance, age of some part?
Lots for the NTSB to unravel there.
Okay, so let's try and pull this together. We have this historic Mexican naval training ship, the ARM Cuauhtémoc. It collides with the Brooklyn Bridge. The cause, preliminarily, a mechanical failure leading to a loss of power.
Tragically resulting in fatalities and injuries.
Yes, tragically. The ship's masts were snapped, very visibly damaged. Investigations are ongoing to find the exact cause.
And while the bridge seems okay structurally, the whole event is just a stark reminder, isn't it, of the potential for things to go wrong, even in busy, well-managed waterways.
It really is. What stands out is that rapid shift, from this festive departure, music, good vibes, to the sudden severe impact with a major landmark because of a mechanical issue. It really highlights the complexities, the potential dangers of operating even well-kept vessels near modern infrastructure.
Absolutely. It's a complex environment.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? What does an incident like this tell us about balancing, the preservation and operation of these amazing historic ships in today's world, especially so close to critical infrastructure?
That's a really good point. The interface between history and modern risk.
And what other questions pop up for you? About, say, maritime safety rules or how we account for the potential of these sudden, unforeseen failures, even on ships that seem well-maintained. It's definitely a sobering event, one that probably prompts a lot of thought about history, technology, and navigating the risks around us.